Today on More Organised Less Clutter, I'm talking with Brad Nelson from Debt Free Dad. He's a podcaster who teaches a simple process to build a healthier financial mindset, save money, and also break free from debt. Today, though, he'll be helping you develop strategies to feel more in control of your money during the holiday period and Christmas. So, welcome, Brad.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate that.
Oh, so thank you so much for making the time. I know it's difficult when we're in different sides of the world.
Yeah, it's taken a little time, but we finally have made it here.
I know it's well worth it.
It's good.
So I'll do a little intro question. If you were a Ken doll, just to find out a bit about the things that you like to do outside of maybe work, what accessories would you come with?
Oh my goodness. Probably some Legos. I love Legos. I'm a big adult kid when it comes to Lego. I love to be outside. I've been camping for many years. I do enjoy going camping and sometimes tent camping, but being outside with my kids. And honestly, as a single dad, I can tell you that's about as much time as I have right now. I really do. But between running my business, my podcast, I also work a couple part-time jobs just to kind of keep myself busy, and then my kids' schedule. There's not a lot more time. So, I fill it up with Lego. I also love, here in the United States, love NFL football. So I'm a big Green Bay Packer fan as well. So I'd say maybe a football too would be great.
So then, if I was coming over to you as a professional organizer, what area do you need organizing? Is it the Lego or is that looking amazing?
If you came, no, my Legos are actually, I'm pretty intentional about the Legos I buy.
Yeah.
And I don't have like a lot of just miscellaneous things. I would say for us, because between me and my partner, we have 5 kids. I would say clothes
Oh,
because
close.
we have 2 laundry areas in our home, and we have one on the downstairs and one on the upstairs. And their kids are really great about wearing the clothes. They're just not really great at putting them all away once they're folded and done. So we have kind of stacks of clothes all over the place. And not that they have too much, it's just that they just never make it back into their rooms.
Yeah.
So that would probably be
And
the
I'm
biggest
sure
thing.
the laundry is it downstairs as well, which makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, we have a downstairs one where we have 3 of our kids down.
Okay.
They have rooms down there, and then we have an upstairs one where me and my partner are, and then we have 2 more kids up there. So
Yeah.
we put a second one in downstairs, so we're not constantly running up and down the
That's a good
stairs. So we
idea.
have one on each level. So it makes it a
Yeah.
little bit easier. But still, with all the clothes and stuff, I would say that would probably be the number one area that we have kind of laying around a lot more often.
Oh, beautiful. I know I love washing. That is probably my area that I actually love organizing is putting systems into people's homes to help them manage washing.
Yeah.
So,
I wish you could come over.
so what strengths do you bring to Debt Free Dad that make, your service and even your podcast really unique?
Well, I think number one, it's because we've been there. We used to live with a lot of financial stress, credit cards, car payments. I've done a lot of dumb things with money, and throughout my entire 20 years, in my 20s, I should say, and then when I finally got into my early 30s, I had my first son, Noah, and it was at that point where I was just like, man, I really got to do this stuff different because, we kind of tell ourselves or trick our minds into thinking that as we get older, life gets easier, we'll make more money, things will be a lot less stressful. And the reality is that's not what was happening. I was actually getting myself more into debt, more into payments, more financial stress. And I just had this feeling of, I liked my job. I didn't love my job. I liked my job, but I also knew I'm like stuck in this salary and this payroll. And if I ever want to do anything different, I don't have the option to really do that unless I found someone that would be a lateral move over. But I could never take a pay cut if I wanted to just go do something I enjoy doing because I had all these bills, right? So I really started to feel like really stuck. And then I also felt like this huge responsibility now as a parent. I'm looking at him and I'm like, I'm ashamed about how I've managed my finances. I need to do better because I need to be a better role model for him and to show him how to do some of this stuff so he can be successful. Because in this day and age, in the world that we live in, and it's been like this for many years, it's real easy just to get yourself roped into living paycheck to paycheck for the rest of your life. And so I think we're from how we set ourselves apart is that we've been there, we've done it the way they say to do it, which is in debt. And we just didn't like that. And we got ourselves out of debt. I've been debt free now for more than 12 years. And I've helped thousands of people do it. And it really kind of just comes down to, we're just a normal family. We don't live in some huge mansion. We don't drive super fancy cars. We don't, we're not doing this as like, super wealthy people. We're doing this normal everyday people. So if we can do it, a lot of other people out there can do it too.
Yeah, so it's great when it comes from lived experience, isn't it? Because I think that really lands with people more so than if we're just giving advice and we don't actually know what's what they're actually going through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see from people making, maybe even around this period of time at Christmas time, trying to stay, I don't know, stay on top of their budget?
Well, that's, I think, the big one is they don't usually have one. Right? They don't
Yes.
really have that budget. They might have an
No.
idea of what they're following, but they're probably not really following it. So I would say from whether you're going into the holidays or whether you're just in a normal time of your life, not surrounded by the holidays, I think a lot of it just comes down to your for me especially, my money was controlling me, my emotions were controlling me. I was really kind of flying by the seat of my pants and just kind of letting the wind take me wherever I was going to go, and I spent my money that way. And then I would always wonder, well, why don't I ever have any money? And that's because I wasn't being intentional. I wasn't being intentional with the direction of my life. I wasn't being intentional with the goals that I wanted to reach. I was kind of following the crowd and listening to what the crowd said I should do, or listening to what marketing and advertising says I should have or buy. And it's easy to kind of get roped up into this, herd mentality of what everybody else is doing or what everyone's telling you to do. And the reality is, that's going to lead you to a life of being broke and living with a lot of financial stress. And the same thing goes for the holidays. We're busy people. I'm a busy dad. It's easy to let the holidays sneak up on us, even though they're at the same time every year. They don't change. It's the same time, but as parents and even as it's just easy just to forget it and not worry about it until it's here. And it's like, what are we going to do? Right. And then sadly, what a lot of us do is, we whip out the credit cards or do the buy now, pay later programs
Mm,
and some of those things that are out there now. And we wind up in the, new year with a lot more debt that we're facing and having to, struggle with how we're going to get that paid off, and that whole holiday hangover, so to speak. So I think they're both the same. It comes down to really just a lack of preparation and really being intentional with your finances and really paying attention to them. And uh, it's a slippery slope because sometimes when we talk about it, we can sometimes make it feel like, well, your finances are the most important thing in your life, and they aren't. They're not the most important. But when you make them a priority, it helps you keep the most important things in your life the most important, like spending time with your family, spending time with your kids, and being able to do the things that you love without all of the stress that's hanging on your shoulders. Here in the United States, financial stress is the number one stress that people face.
mm.
It's money stress, and so imagine being able to get rid of that, even just maybe cutting it in half and not having to worry so much. And that just makes like a huge difference in just your overall quality of life. And now you can take that emotional energy that you were spending stressing and worrying about money, and now you can take that energy and you can put it into more positive things in your life. And it's so incredible to see the transformation in people with just some of the simple things that they can do, just by paying attention to their finances. And like I said, like you said, having an actual budget you follow that really meets your goals. It can be wonderful things.
Yeah, no, and being on the other end of it, that's some of the things that I'll see is they've purchased all these things and then they come out of Christmas and they're in the financial stress you know, and people, because you're in their home working in their space, they're quite open about sharing things like this, about the financial stress they've put themselves in. And so it's amazing when you can still work with that family and you remove all the clutter from their home and then see next year when they've put the budget in place and saying, look what I can afford this year. I'm not worrying. I'm not stressing. So what is
Yeah.
some of the tips that you share with people to sort of prepare themselves? I mean, they can start now. Obviously, some of them might be already in that financial stress, having Black Friday last week.
Last week,
But
yeah.
what are some of the things that they could do moving into this holiday and preparing for next year?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is really sitting down and thinking about what you want the holidays to look like. What do you want the holidays to look like for you, whether it be your kids, your family? Um, how do you want people to feel? What are the memories that you want to make? And I think it kind of starts there. We can be so driven by just the stuff and just
Mm.
buying and consuming. And the reality is that most of the feelings that we get from the holidays are from the memories that are made, not the gifts that are necessarily given. Now the gifts can be a part of that, but they aren't the entire part of it. And sometimes we can lose what the holidays can bring because we're so focused on just spending money and buying things, and rather than focusing on the moment. There was a statistic that we had in our podcast a few years ago, and it was wild. It was like somewhere up was like of 75% of people said in a survey that they would skip gift giving in the holidays altogether if it meant that they could actually just spend more time with their family and friends and the people that they love. And so
Yeah.
if you got that many people saying that, but yet all of us are so wrapped up into the actual gift part of it, that's what I think it takes time to like sit down and like, what do we really want to do for the holidays? And, when we have families go through this and it gets towards Christmas, we tell them, if you have children, start talking to your kids about these things early. Don't like drop it on their shoulders, first, second week of December or whatever, but have some of these early conversations with them to set the expectations of, hey, we're getting our finances under control. We're really being more intentional this year. This is not to say that we're not going to have a holiday and we're not going to have Christmas and things, but we're going to really make sure that the things that we do buy and purchase are going to be things that are going to be special. They're going to be used.
Mm.
Because in so many cases, we go through the holidays, especially as parents, we get roped in, especially with social media, it's social
That's the thing, isn't
influence
it?
is
Yeah.
huge, right? And you see these commercials and you see these people doing their TikToks or their reels, and they have these
Yeah.
Christmas trees with all of these crazy amount of presents and things. And then in the back of our minds, we're like, we're not doing enough,
Mm.
and now we're feeling like, oh, we gotta buy more. We gotta buy more. We gotta do more. But if you're intentional, you have those conversations with your kids early and say, hey, this is what we're going to be working on. This is where we're at. You're going to find that your kids are going to value less. They're going to value much more of getting less than getting more, because a lot of that stuff, in my experience with my kids when they were little,
Yeah.
a few weeks later, they're not even touching some of that stuff anymore.
Yes.
It just sits there. It just sits there. So I think not only can you teach them, about things that you guys talk about, which is less clutter, just having
Mm.
things just to have things, but you can also teach them a lot of financial responsibility in that, is that, you want to use your money wisely. You want to be intentional. And that means that when you purchase things, you want to purchase things that are surrounded by the interests that you have, the goals that you have in your life, things that are going to support your life, not necessarily just clutter it up.
Yeah, yeah. And then the like stocking fillers, like we don't need all of that stuff. It doesn't, yeah.
Right.
It's not about the volume. It's about what the kids need and would actually maybe like. There's so many of those little formulas that you can say, like, I used to do it when my kids were younger, something you want to wear, something to read, and,
Yeah.
something you really need as well. And even just down to little things that, we're going into the school year. So it's like, do they need another lunchbox? Do they need another drink bottle? Things that they're actually going to be using rather
Yeah.
than just something to fill up the stocking.
Right. That's one of the things, man, for me as a parent is I can feel, at least back in the day, not anymore, but the stress
Yeah.
after the holidays were over is like, where are we going to put all this stuff now?
Oh,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. And it's just like, and some of it, it would sit in a corner for a week or two before we found a place for it. And it's like, yeah. So yeah, less is definitely more.
Oh, look, I work with families where they'll put it in a box and it goes into the shed and they haven't even, or the garage, and they haven't even touched it for 6 months of the year because they had nowhere to put it. So that is one of the biggest things, like right now. Referrals are like, yeah, really hot because everyone wants to get their house organized and get things removed before Christmas
Right.
to
Yep.
make space for whatever else they're bringing into their home. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a huge thing, a huge thing that I think people are becoming a little bit more aware of, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, and I think it goes hand in hand with your finances, is that,
Oh, definitely.
man, so many people that go through our program and they work on the stuff that we talk about, they naturally then get into this whole, how can we declutter our house? Because we're realizing,
Yes.
I'm looking at my closets, I'm looking in my attic, I'm looking in my basement, I'm looking in my garage, I'm looking at all these areas, and there's so much stuff here that we haven't touched. You know,
Yeah.
I would say probably, of all the things that you own, you're probably only utilizing maybe 20% of them, and the other 80%, a lot of it just sits there and doesn't get used.
Yeah, yeah. And it's then also trying to change people's mindset around letting it go because of the money they've purchased, like spent on that object. And then, if you went to sell it secondhand, it's not worth the same amount unless there's someone out there who really wants that particular object.
Right.
So, yeah, that's probably another area that I feel that both your work and my work joins together really well, around, yeah, changing your mindset around what you've spent on something
Yeah.
and what it's actually now worth as well, which then makes people think more about when they go to purchase something in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as you work on your habits, you work on your behaviors, you work on your goals. Uh, I li- I like to always call it like a buying filter. I think you start to naturally build this buying filter, and when you look at something in the store, you look at something during the
Mm.
holidays, and now you're going into it with more of an intentional plan. It's easy to say, is this going to help us get closer to what we're looking to do, or is this going to help push us further away? And it
Mm.
becomes a lot easier to say no to things and not let that emotion of like, oh, I've got to have this because it's on sale or they're telling me I need it or whatever it might be. It's a lot easier to guard against a lot of that emotional, um, I like to call it warfare almost that they're using against you, because they do. They really
Yeah.
use it against you to get you to buy things. But that buying filter, once you become more intentional, becomes more and more powerful and helps you battle against a lot of that.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you suggest to parents to help support their children in developing like healthy financial mindsets?
Yeah, I think I mean the biggest thing you can do is do it for yourself. I think
Yeah.
um there's no better, there's just no better way to show your kids how to do it is just do it, and they'll see you do it. Um, they'll see you being intentional with having a budget, or when you're going to the store and they say, "Hey, can I get this?" and we say, "Hey," we don't use the words no because we're broke or we don't have any money. No,
Yeah.
we say things like, "No, that's not in our plan this month. We're working on some other things. It's not to say that we can't ever get this, but let's figure out a way to be able to get this." Or maybe you figure out a way of how you can earn or buy whatever it is. And so just by leading by example, I think you can definitely show them a lot of this stuff. The other thing I think you can start with your kids is when they start making an income. If you have teenagers that begin working, I think sitting down and making a very simple budget and savings plan, like, hey, when you get paid, you are going to put X amount of dollars in your savings, and you're going to use X amount of dollars for things like your expenses or hanging out with your friends or going to the movies. And then you're going to use X amount of dollars for, future things that are going to be coming up. Like, hey, if you're going to, buy birthday presents for people or Christmas or whatever, start putting money away, and you can start teaching them how to plan for future expenses and things that are coming down the pipeline, rather than what a lot of us are taught at 18, 19, 20 years old is, well, that's what credit cards are for. No, not necessarily. Credit cards are for people who haven't planned, sadly. And that was me many, many years ago. I had a lot of credit card debt. And but you can teach your kids on how to be intentional with their budgeting. And it's not just about budgeting for like right now, but it's also looking towards the future, because there are going to be things that are going to come up that you're going to want to do as well. So I think once you sit down and start working with your kids on some of this stuff, they naturally are going to start building those habits right away, and then being able to take those into their early adulthood and start using that as they become adults, and really getting out into the world and living their life. The other side of this too, I would just strongly recommend start talking to them about investing and putting money in towards, like future. Talk to them about compound interest and the power of compound interest. And compound interest is an amazing mathematical explosion that can happen for you in your life. But the secret is getting started as early as you possibly can, because the longer you do it, the better it gets for you. So I think this is one of the things that I wish parents would definitely sit down and teach their kids is get out an investment calculator, get out a retirement type calculator, and look at, hey, if you started just putting this amount of money away right now, even if it's a small amount, look how it could grow over time, and getting them in that habit of creating that habit of saving, and
Mm.
for especially for long term savings plans, and looking at things like towards retirement, or maybe they want to open a business one time, and again they can start building some of that money now, and again with just very very small amounts.
Yeah, they're fantastic tips. And I know my daughter's at that age and has a part-time job now and is saving for the car and for just for 12 months. It's amazing how much she's put aside out of her pay and how she's motivated by it though too, by seeing that amount going, oh, look how much I've saved for a car for then in 2 years' time when she can get her license. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that's a great tip for people, for parents to do and encourage their kids. Yeah.
Savings is
And
huge, I think. Yeah. I mean, even just for the thought of peace of mind and less stress, having an emergency fund put away,
yeah.
because, and teaching your kids, hey, life is not, every day is not going to be a Disneyland day. It's not going to be a fantastic, the sun is out every day. You're going to go through things in your life that aren't fun, that aren't easy. And honestly, in some cases, sadly, for an extended period of time. So looking at savings as something that's going to be kind of like a financial hug to you in the future. Hey, I planned for this. I knew one day this bad thing was going to show up on my doorstep, but I'm prepared. And now you can fight the thing that has shown up rather than having to fight your finances and the thing at the same time. So I think,
Mm.
really showing your kids not just to save for buying, but also to save for those rainy days that we know are coming too.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that financial hug. That's really, really good little quote. So, one tip then that you could give people to catch up on their bills, especially now, coming out of Christmas, if they have got themselves into debt, what's something that they can do to catch up on those? What's sort of your advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is awareness. If you're someone
Yeah.
who's close or you are behind on bills, missing some payments here and there, I would suggest sitting down and getting started with the basics. I would look at the last 3 to 6 months of your expenses. For a lot of people, a lot of us don't go back and do that. And for a lot of people who do, they are amazed at how much money they actually do have and where it is actually going. I wouldn't say amazed. Sometimes they are very disgusted with themselves because they realize, like, yikes, like we actually do have money to get ourselves to a better place and to get caught up on bills. But we're spending a lot of money. We have a lot of holes in our bucket, right? And we got to start figuring out where we can patch those up. So that's step number one, because in a lot of cases, and everyone's situation is different, but if you're just a little bit behind in a lot of cases, just this step alone can really help you get caught up pretty quickly once you become aware of what's going on. I think a lot of people deal with a lot of financial stress because they're just unaware. They have no idea what's going in, what's going out, when bills are coming out. They just have no clue, and that creates nothing but just chaos in their life. And so they're constantly checking, when do they get paid? When does the next bill
Yeah.
come out? Right? It's just this constant, you know, almost like robbing Peter to pay Paul all the time. So I think getting settled and really figuring out where all your money is going is step number one. Step number two after that then is then to go through and say, of all of the places, is what can we shop around? Like, can we get better
Mm.
prices? Like, are we getting the best price on all the services and things that we're paying for? What are some things that we are going to keep? Because I think keeping some things are okay. You don't want to definitely go scorched earth where your life is miserable and you have nothing. And then number three is, what are the things that you're going to get rid of? What are the things that, again, when you use that buying filter mentality of, what are the things that aren't getting us to where we want to go? And then it's easy just to say, we're getting rid of these things, at least for right now. And sometimes this can create that scarcity mindset of, oh, well, kind of like a diet. If I want to go on a diet or if I want to get healthy, I can't have the fun foods or eat the things that I want. And we kind of have that same mentality when it comes to our finances too, is like, if I want to get out of debt or if I want to improve my finances, I can never have fun again. That's not true. Right? It's just not. You work hard for your money. You should enjoy your money. You should have fun. We only live once, right? I'm a big fan of that, but you also have to do it responsibly. So one of the things that I always tell people is, when you look to cut things, don't say we have to cut this out for the rest of our lives. Say we're making short-term sacrifices right now, and when things improve, we can get these things back if we want to. But here's the thing that I've found over the years. Most people who cut those things out, they
Yeah.
realize they
They
don't
don't need
really
it.
need them. They don't need them, right? And I felt that way too. I got rid of a brand new car when I got out of debt, and I went to like an older used car. It was a serious downgrade, and it hurt me big time. Like, it hurt my ego. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this to myself. But you want to know what? I still drive an old car today
Yeah.
because it's amazing having that extra money every single month, what it did for my finances, my financial life, and just my overall stress. And I realized, like, it's just not worth it. And I was only driving those cars to try to impress other people that I didn't even know or I didn't even like. you know? So look at all of your expenses, where you're going. Again, what you can shop, what you're going to keep, and then what you're going to get rid of. And
I
then
think,
after
yeah,
that, go
yeah.
ahead.
So, I was just going to say, like the subscriptions and things like that that are coming out of our accounts these days, so many
Oh,
people aren't even aware of it. So that is such a brilliant tip to go
yeah,
back and have a look. And there's probably things there that you're not even using that you could definitely cut out.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, here in
Yeah.
the United States, I mean, the average is, I think, reaching a few $100s now in just subscriptions, because we tell ourselves when we sign up for that stuff, oh,
Yeah.
it's just only a few dollars, it's only a few
Yeah.
bucks, and you realize, like, all of a sudden you start looking at all those things that are coming out, you're probably not even using most of them, right? But since we've told ourselves and sold ourselves, well, it's only a few dollars, we're not going to miss it. But when you look at it, how much it is adds up over time, that's a good sum of money that you can easily come back from. And it's always those little purchases. Some people look at just the big purchases as like the
Mm.
ones that are the problem, but it is death by 1,000 cuts. It can be that. It can be all those little swipes, the little stops at a gas station, or just going out to eat, just things that you're just not paying attention to, and before you know it, that stuff adds up to a big sum of money that you could be using to help you get caught up and back to where you want to be. But once you get to that point, and hopefully by now you will be caught up, if not very shortly. But if you're still finding like I just can't get caught up, it could be, hey, I got to go make some extra money for a little while. Budgeting only works so far. And then
Mm.
if that's not working, if cutting things out isn't working, you've done everything that you possibly can there. It could be an income issue, at least just short term. Like, hey, I need to go pick up some extra hours, pick up some extra work just to get myself caught back up so I can pay these things and get back to being even again.
Yeah, that's a great tip as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, Brad, for your time and sharing all of this knowledge. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, best way is you can find us on debtfreedad.com. And you can also check out our podcast. I think I forget what episode number we're on. I think 370
300?
some now. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a lot. We've
It
got a
is something
lot.
like that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of episodes out there that we're talking a lot, all of these types of things, and all different topics. And so if you're someone who's looking to improve your finances and you want to hear from normal everyday people, just search the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we can be found on every major podcast listening platform. And we'd be happy to have you as a listener.
And I love your episodes. They're short, sweet, and there's always something to take away that you can implement straight away as well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we do. We do. I was like, I don't want a podcast where we're on here for hours. Like, I'm a busy guy. I want a quick podcast, 15, 20 minutes, if even less. Give them some great stuff and we're done, because, we got to get on with our lives and then be able to apply that information. So,
Well, you do that really well, Brad.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.